Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is May 25th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1852, two-time World Greco-Roman champion and the first head of the New York State Athletic Commission, William Muldoon. 1956, the luchador known as Solar. 1966, another luchador, Tinablis Jr. 1985, it's the big dog, Roman Reigns. And 1990, I believe in Bo Dallas. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for May 25th. 1993, journeyman wrestler, DJ Peterson. 2019, legendary Canadian wrestler, Rene Goulet. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for May 25th. Jumping in that Wayback Machine and going to 1957. Vern Gagne and Ed Carpenter defeat Nikolai and Boris Volkov for the Chicago version of the NWA World Tag Team titles in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ending the Volkovs' second reign. Grooving into the 60s, 1963, we see the Fabulous Kangaroos defeat Bearcat Wright and Enrique Torres for the NWA Canadian Tag Team titles. Fast forwarding 5 years to 1968, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation ran Elizabeth, New Jersey at the Armory, headlined by world champion Bruno Sammartino and Victor Riviera, fighting Virgil the Kentucky Butcher and Gorilla Monsoon to a draw at a best 2 out of 3 falls match. In Fall 1, Sammartino defeated Monsoon at the 9-minute mark. In Fall 2, Monsoon defeated Sammartino. And in the third fall, all 4 men were disqualified. Grabbing my bell bottoms and going to the 70s, 1976, Bob Orton Jr. defeats Jack Briscoe to win the Florida heavyweight title, ending Briscoe's 4th reign. Grabbing my boombox and making 4 stops in 1980, first, Skull Murphy and Gypsy Joe defeat Rocky Johnson and Jimmy Valiant for the AWA Southern Tag Team titles. Our second stop in 1980 sees Mark Lewin defeat Gino Hernandez for the WCCW Texas Heavyweight title. The third of our 4 stops in 1980 sees Pero Araguay defeat Gran Hamada in Mexico to win the UWA World Light Heavyweight title. And our 4th and final stop in 1980, the great Hassan Arab, later known as the Iron Sheik, defeats Dewey Robertson, later known as the Missing Link, to win the NWA Canadian Heavyweight title. Moving ahead 1 year to 1981, Kevin Sullivan and Wayne Ferris, later the Honky Tonk Man, began their second reign as AWA Southern Tag Team champions, ending the reigns of Bill Dundee and the Dream Machine. Next, 2 stops in 1982, where we see Tiger Mask defeat Les Thornton to win the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title in Japan. Our second stop in 82 sees Steve Gray defeat Jim Breeks for the British welterweight title in England. Our last stop in the 80s, 1989, Russian amateur wrestling great Salam Hashmikov defeats Big Van Vader for the IWGP title in Osaka, Japan, ending Vader's reign at just 1 month. Moving into the decade of grunge, 1990, Matt Bourne defeats Kerry Von Erich to win the WCW Texas Heavyweight title in Dallas, Texas. 1994, at a WWF taping in Erie, Pennsylvania, Brian Lee, as Ted DiBiase's fake Undertaker, makes his debut. On the same taping, an underage Jeff Hardy made his first appearance in a WWF ring, losing to the 1-2-3 Kid. 3 years later, in 1997, Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin defeated Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith for the WWF Tag Team titles. And last but not least, 1999, WWF taped the May 31st edition of Raw is War in Moline, Illinois, where we see such matches as Jeff Jarrett defeating The Godfather for the WWF Intercontinental title, beginning Jarrett's 4th reign. On the same episode of Raw, the Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk, won their first WWF Tag Team titles, defeating X-Pac and Kane. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for May 25th. I'm the Eclectic Gentleman, Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.